What does it mean to be the greatest? People consider something as the greatest of all time, maybe based on numbers, cultural impact, or maybe a good story. And when it comes to cars, the greatest car of all time is a very hot topic of contention. Some people say McLaren F1, others say Ferrari F40, but for me, there is only one answer. Between the numbers, between the impact, and between a damn good story, this is the Bugatti Veyron, and this is the greatest car of all time. And I get it, that is a very lofty claim. The greatest of all time is not a claim to be taken lightly, but I think it applies to this. Of course, it's a car of numbers. 253 miles an hour, 2.50 to 60, 1,001 horsepower, W16 with 4 turbochargers on it. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, I wanted to start off with a little story as to why this car exists, because I think the story behind it is just as interesting, if not more interesting, than the numbers this car puts out. It all begun in 1998 when Volkswagen purchased Bugatti. And later on, the CEO of Volkswagen, Ferdinand Piëch, wanted to use the brand for a very specific reason. He wanted to build a car that would do 253 miles an hour, not 250, not 255, and certainly not 252 either. There's a reason behind this, and that is because Ferdinand Piëch is a man of, well, absolute might in the automotive world. He is the man who made the 911 race-worthy, and that was the first thing he's done in his career. And then after that, he went on to handle a lot of stuff over at Porsche in their motorsport division and was responsible for a car called the Porsche 917. A couple of videos ago, I got to see a 917, actually a couple 917 examples over at Canepa. And that car held a very interesting record because at Le Mans, it held the top speed record, and the 917 held the top speed record at Le Mans for several years at 240 miles an hour until Peugeot decided to build a car not to win the race, not even to complete it, but to dethrone the 917. It went out at the 24-hour race with the sole intention of breaking that top speed record. And it did. In 1987 and 1988, the car ended up hitting a top speed of around 252 miles per hour. So then fast forward to 1998. Ferdinand Piëch makes Bugatti a part of the Volkswagen Group, and he then tells the engineers to do one thing, to build the ultimate road car. To one, dethrone that Peugeot's record, and two, have it not be some stripped out race-bred prototype, instead a luxury, high-performance hypercar with leather seats and, you know, if you are going 253 miles an hour, have the ability to have a conversation at such speeds. Crazy, right? And the legend goes that upon hearing this task, well, half of the engineering team quit immediately. But what the other half did was get to work and create the ultimate road car. This is something that was unprecedented for the time and in a way is still unprecedented now. At a time when the Lamborghini Murcielago, Lamborghini's most powerful car, made 570 horsepower and the Ferrari Enzo made 650, they needed to build a car with a little bit more power than that. And what they engineered was nothing short of magnificent. A 8-liter W16 engine, essentially 2 4-liter V8s put together, and then on top of that with 4 turbochargers, making a combined output of 1,001 horsepower. Not 1,000 because you think they might be making that up, 1,001. And to put 1,001 W16 horsepowers down to the ground, you had to make the car all-wheel drive. And unfortunately at the time, a gearbox didn't really exist to handle all that power. So they had somebody make a gearbox to handle all of that power. A 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, the first ever hypercar with a dual-clutch transmission, as a matter of fact, a trend that has become, well, very prominent in today's world. This is with the very genesis of that. And once the car did eventually release in 2005, and journalists were able to put that 1,001 horsepower to the ground, well, they found some interesting statistics, including the 2.5 second 0 to 60 that the car did, something that was unprecedented for the time, something that, I mean, this was the first car that did 0 to 60 in the twos, when I'm going to mention the Ferrari Enzo again, did 0 to 60 in what, like 3.3, 3.4, so almost a second quicker, and of course onto the top speed, as the car was originally designed to do, of 253 miles an hour, making it the fastest car in the world, dethroning the McLaren F1, and of course beating the Peugeot, and therefore succeeding in the car's original mission. And of course, to put all that power to the ground and sustain such high top speed, some special tires had to be made in collaboration between Bugatti and Michelin. And I'm not talking about Michelin's road car division, I'm talking about their aeronautics division, because those are the types of people that you have to have designing a car like this. This is not a car for measly engineers, this is a car for rocket scientists. And to help mitigate the risk of tires absolutely shredding at high speeds, the tires are glued to the wheels, and every few times you have to replace the tires, you have to replace the wheels as well. And of course, as these are just road car tires, you cannot sustain the top speed of 253 miles an hour for too long. In fact, on these tires, you can only sustain it for about 15 minutes. But that's okay, because the Veyron has a very important safety feature that prevents you from reaching that 15-minute mark. And that is, if you are driving this car flat out at 253 miles an hour, well, you'll drain the fuel tank in 12 minutes, so you'll never blow the tires up. Good thinking by Bugatti there. And of course, I can rattle off stats all day, like how this car has 10 radiators, which is, well, 9 more than the Golf I drove here today. But what I wanted to really highlight was just the craftsmanship and attention to detail in this car, like the Bugatti badge, the EB, the Ettore Bugatti badge, paying homage to the cars of old, milled out of aluminum. And that is a very common trend on this car, like the air ducts here, the fuel filler cap, and even the door handles. This car isn't just designed to be an engineering piece, but a work of art as well. And of course, I'm gonna go back to those wheels, as those are also milled from aluminum. This is a very unique thing, and like, of course, looking at the iconic horseshoe grille as well. Lots of attention to detail in this car. And taking a look at the interior, I mean, the aluminum theme continues. I first wanted to just point out the steering wheel here, looking gorgeous, and just the turn signal stock there, and the dials all milled out of aluminum. And the aluminum theme, I mean, it's very, very prominent in this car, like this central console, which is made out of aluminum. Got the Ettore Bugatti badge there, which is made out of aluminum, and the little switchgear pieces here as well, like your mirror adjust, your door handle, the window switches, which are made out of aluminum. And then taking a quick look out the rear, actually some decent visibility from this car at the rear wing, which, well, isn't made out of aluminum, but it looks cool. And then I also wanted to point out one more thing. It's this little keyhole here, which is also not made out of aluminum, but those little switches are, or those little buttons are. And this is a very interesting detail with the Bugatti Veyron. And anybody who knows Veyrons, and anybody who's purchased a Veyron, knows that it came with an additional key. Now, this isn't to start the car. Obviously, you start the car over here. This is where you put something called the top speed key. You turn it, and then the wing goes down, and then you can do your 253 mile an hour top speed run. Of course, only for 12 minutes, because then you'll run out of fuel. But very cool little detail here. Of course, you're not just gonna let you do it with the touch of a button. You gotta do some checks, and it's a little safety feature as well to keep you from just going and doing 253 miles an hour on some back road. Cool detail there. And in terms of a cultural impact, well, that was something that the Veyron had almost immediately. When the car came out, and especially when the car was released in the US, everybody had to have one. Between the world's top rappers, athletes, actors, everyone had to have a Bugatti Veyron. Celebrities who have owned a Veyron, or currently own a Veyron as well. Cristiano Ronaldo being one of them, Tom Brady being another. Those are some very prominent athletes. Also maybe considered to be the greatest of all time in their respective sports. Actors like Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then, of course, lots of rappers. Chris Brown, Birdman, Florida, Lil Wayne, Drake, Soulja Boy, Exhibit, Jay-Z, and assholes like Simon Cowell. He had one of those too. Of course, this all trickled down through pop culture. A car that was the possession of few became the dream of many through songs like, well, Bugatti, named obviously after the car. It made the brand a household name along the likes of Ferrari and Lamborghini, and well, everybody wanted to have one, and it's still very much a dream car now. I remember in school, they'd be asked about their dream cars, they'd all say Bugatti Veyron, because it's the fastest, because it's the coolest car, because it's the most expensive, whatever you wanted to say, it was a special car. And I think it is still a special car now, because what this car did in its era, in 2005, when it originally released, was something that, well, no car could even begin to replicate, between the horsepower, between the performance figures, and of course the impact that it had. This was a car that was, well, couldn't be replicated at the time, and in a way cannot be replicated now in terms of the benchmark that it set. It took the bar, threw it out the window, and sent it way up the damn scale. And what this car is nothing short of special because of that. Because of the story of this car, a car built essentially out of spite towards a Peugeot that raced at Le Mans, and what it became because of that was a cultural icon, and what, in my opinion, is the greatest of all time. And with only 500 examples being made during the Veyron's 10-year lifespan, well, getting to spend some time with one in a studio is absolutely incredible. So thank you so much to the amazing people over at Graham Rahal Performance for making that possible, because, well, these opportunities don't come by every day. But one thing I want to mention is that this car didn't end after 500 units. What became of this car was eventually a Chiron, a car I was lucky enough to experience about a year ago. And then, of course, the brand has exploded. Cars like Divo, Cento Dieci, Bolide, Mistral, those are all cars that owe their lineage to the Veyron. This was it, this was Genesis, and this is what made Bugatti a household name. But if you do enjoy this video, guys, remember to like and subscribe. And until next time, well, this was me, Patrick, the King of Cars, gawking over this Veyron. Thank you for watching. Take care. And here's a bit of a different post-credit scene, because I just wanted to quickly highlight some stuff here in the GRP showroom. Now, I was here a couple of months ago, so I'm not going to go in depth with every car in here because there are some cars that featured in that previous video, but wanted to briefly mention two McLaren P1s. This one's in blue carbon, which is very, very nice. You can just barely see the weave right there. Love a good McLaren carbon. Oh, and my camera's freaking out. And then this one is in a volcano orange, but it's volcano orange Corsa, which has a little more metallic flake than the standard volcano orange, which was the launch color on the P1. Very, very nice. The Forza Motorsport 5 cover car. So I love P1s, and I love P1s in that color. Walking along, got a McLaren Elva here, one of 11 equipped with the factory windshield, which is an option that you could put on these cars. This is actually my first time seeing an Elva with a windshield, and I actually really, really like this spec. The interior is very bold, but it's like a cool, like, aquatic theme. I really like that. Walking along, getting 964 Carrera RS 3.8, very nice 911. Got a couple of Pistas, Coupe Spider, Blue Electrico, and then one in white. Walking along back here, got some more cool Ferraris. Got a 250 GT Lusso, a 246 Dino GTS, and then a Ferrari 430 Scuderia 16M. Very nice car. And then in a complete contrast, a Toyota 2000 GT. That's my first time seeing one of those. Super cool. Got an SF90 here in a very lovely spec. And then a pair of 458s of two completely different brackets. Got the Italia here, the original, the base car, which is very nice. And then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, and worth about 8 or 9 times more, got the Speciale Aperta here in my favorite color for these cars, being Giallo Triplo Strato. But then turning around here, getting another quick look at the P1s, Max taking a look at the McLarens. I wanted to then highlight a couple of Porsches because, well, this place is just Porsche heaven. I mean, any Porsche you can imagine, they have. There's a pair of RS 4 liters here. The last time here featured some RS 4 liters, and these are some different RS 4 liters. Feels like there are always these things coming in and out of here. Very cool. Anyways, that's GRP. Also wanting to highlight this, the very first roof BTR slant nose. Don't know how many of these they made, but I'm sure it is a very rare machine. And being the first one is super cool. Got a 997R standard GT3 RS here, as if you could really call that a standard GT3 RS. And then walking along, got a very nice pair of 993s, and then ending out this line with an all-time classic and an all-time favorite of mine as well, the white 997 GT2 RS with these Very nice, like brass, almost bronze wheels in the white, which is a quite lovely spec. But again, huge thank you to the team at GRP for allowing me to come out and film the Veyron today. And well, I mean, their inventory is just always so stacked. This place is awesome.